Former President Donald Trump and former Governor Chris Christie exchange, well, let's just say taunts. I'm from Glenwood Road. We would call this joning. Name calling, going back and forth. It was quite spectacular. Let's put up the picture full mass here because I really believe this picture captures an interesting moment. They don't like each other. They never did. They always were frenemies. The former President Donald Trump and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie sparred online Sunday after Chris Christie predicted Trump could not beat President Biden if they ran against each other in the 2024 presidential election. Now let's keep the picture up. First of all, that prediction is not outside of the norm. As a matter of fact, pretty much every poll shows the only person that Biden can beat is Donald Trump. Here's the irony of it. Donald Trump, Joe Biden matchup creates a Joe Biden victory. If you replace Donald Trump with, I don't know, Governor Ron DeSantis of California, he wins in many of those polls. If you eliminate both of those individuals and just say, hey, your choice is either Joe Biden or another candidate on the Republican side, not DeSantis and not Trump, guess who wins? The mysterious no-name Republican wins every time. This is problematic, obviously, for the Democratic Party. Now, Donald Trump got in his feelings. Now, remember, Chris Christie is simply echoing. He's simply echoing what all of these polls have already said. Polls are not predictions, but they are snapshots of how people think currently. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. Christie, who endorsed Donald Trump in 2016 after dropping his own campaign, dropping from the presidential campaign, has since become a vocal Trump critic. Well, look at that. They grow backbones when a certain person is not empowered. Made the 2024 forecast Sunday on ABC News, where he is now a paid contributor. Donald Trump fired back on Truth Social. Now, let me say this. Donald Trump did not fire back because Chris Christie said he will likely lose. As a matter of fact, Christie is not the only Republican saying it, but he is the only Republican who has said he may run for president of the United States. The strategy is the same. Donald Trump has always tried to isolate individuals who pose an actual threat. He did this the first time he ran for president. He's doing it now. He did it to Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, and many others. Even did it to Ben Carson. And he knew good and damn well white Republicans were not going to elect Ben Carson. But because Ben Carson started trending at, 7%, he started to go after Ben Carson. This is his playbook. He has no new tricks. So Trump fired back on Truth Social. He called the man Sloppy Christie. Sloppy Chris Christie, he says, the failed former governor of New Jersey, spent almost his entire last year in office campaigning in New Hampshire for the Republican nomination for president. Much like his term in office, where he left with an approval rating of just 9%, his presidential campaign was a complete disaster, Trump wrote. Now, naturally, Trump is lying when the truth will do. I'm not defending Chris Christie, but the man did not have a 9% exit poll based on the latest information when he left office. It was 14%. That is still historically low. Donald Trump lies when the truth will do. Once again, there's more. He goes on to say, he endorsed me, Trump says. He endorsed me the following day. Later recommended Chris Wray for the FBI. How did that work out? Question mark. Went down in flames and then was salvaged by ABC. Fake news. I never wanted him, full stop. Let me just stop right here. Okay, I'm gonna come back to the graphic in a minute. What does Trump sound like? The man sounds like a jaded lover. The man literally says, I never wanted him. He goes on to talk about how he came after Trump, and I never really wanted him. So now, all of a sudden, there's trouble in paradise. Why? Because Chris Christie said something on ABC News? No, because he believes Chris Christie is a credible threat to his presidential campaign. There's more. The former president said his former transition team chief, Christie responded later Sunday afternoon on Twitter, calling Trump's Truth Social post a new tantrum and dismissing the attack. So here's the response from Christie. All right. Christie says, I'm the target of Donald Trump's new tantrum. None of his lies about me today bothered him when he asked me to prep him for every general election debate or offered me 3 different cabinet positions. And by the way, I would love to know what all of those were. Christie wrote on Twitter, the former governor noted that Trump, and I quote, is the only man to lose to Biden outside Delaware, and added that the, and I quote, lost to Joe still stings. Let games begin, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I predicted about 2 years ago and some change that there will be a great implosion of the Republican Party because they cannot sustain a powerless Donald Trump. The point was Trump had to be out of power for this to work. It is working now. But I want you to remember all of the individuals who all of a sudden have common sense like you and I, saying the things that we've been saying for a very long time, they lack backbone and integrity because they knew these things about Donald Trump when he was running for president. They knew these things about him when he was running for re-election. They still supported him. They did not criticize him. They did not turn their backs on Trump. They turned their backs on you. So remember who they are when they seek your support in the upcoming presidential cycle. Mr. Mayor, thoughts here.
Listen, you know that you are a Republican threat to Trump when you get a nickname.
Right.
Sloppy Chris Christie puts you in Trump's views. Whenever Trump starts targeting people, one, there'll be a bunch of projection. He is himself ridiculous and a failed candidate, twice impeached. I think he sits in that space by himself.
That's right.
And I think this idea that you didn't want this person at all, but you offered him 3 positions, important positions, right? Homeland Security, Veterans Affairs, White House advisor, and then you also offered him to be the ambassador to Italy. So we knew that Trump wanted Chris Christie. Actually, that ain't even it. He also used Chris Christie as a debate coach for his entire presidential campaign. So he wanted the bona fides that Chris could offer him because of Chris Christie's slick mouth as a politician. And Trump could do slick, but it's usually senseless because he has no history of politics in this country or anything for that matter, other than racism and dirty business tactics. So what we see right now is a 2016 replay. I think this benefits Trump in one way. The field is growing because we're hearing more nicknames from Trump, and Trump will have a base that's solidified while these other people split the moderate Republicans, making him the candidate for Republicans. This is a problem for Democrats, but I don't think any Republican, as they continue to grow this field, can come out of the Republican primary, but Trump. And that for all progressives is a good thing. Our best bet is we hope that Joe Biden retires after this one election and don't try to run again because he washed up as well. And there's some truth to the fact that Trump is the only man that lost to Biden outside of Delaware because Biden's been running for president, we know, for 30 plus years. Right. He lost every time except for against Trump. So there's some truth to Christie's statement as well. But I will say this though, we do see this nastiness in the Republican Party where there are no true friends, right? Where we see people latching themselves on to Trump at the height of Trumpism and then running from him right now when he lacks the power. They saw Joe Biden beat Trump and they thought, okay, this is a weakness we can exploit. And this is why you see Christie feeling comfortable on ABC Sunday News, where he's been for 3 or 4 years and he's never said this, but we now see him telling the truth about what it is. We've been saying this. So you can't lie to our seeing eyes, but what you do know is you're being an opportunist because you yourself are contemplating running for presidency.
Mr. Mayor, such a great observation, and you're right. He has been on TV for years and never said anything that directly critical of Trump. He always provided nuance and context for Trump, but that was a direct criticism.